why you should be a certified speaker and trainer. The importance of being a certified speaker and trainer is real simple. You know, it's the type of thing where when we look at it, we have to realize that everybody looks for something special. What's your niche? What's the way to get noticed in this marketplace? As I talk to more and more people, now there's a lot of people out there still getting speaking gigs and still getting booked because they had connections. And so they're doing a lot of virtual, especially the school market. The school market is one of those that really surprised me. If you're thinking of speaking in the school market, you really got to start putting your feelers out to all the associations and the organizations, the teachers groups, the principals groups, and get yourself known to those people because they're still booking speakers to become virtually involved with their students as well as their staff. So that's a new opportunity. But the reason you should get certified is if you do not have the expertise, and I shouldn't call it expertise, if you do not have the notoriety, people aren't necessarily going to pay any attention to you. And one of the curses, you and I know, one of the curses of speaking today is being a boring speaker. You'll see on my stuff all the time, I say, stop boring speakers. It's just one of the worst things in the world. So there's two sins you can commit as a speaker. One is speaking way over your time. So if somebody gives you 50 minutes to talk and you're still there 60 minutes later, they hate you. So make sure you stop on time. And the other one is being boring. I've been in way too many industries, way too oftenly involved with people who thought that their material was what made them boring. And this is my signature line, one of my signature lines. I think I have like 100 of them now. But it's not just stop boring speakers, but it's your material is dry, but you are boring, right? Your material doesn't make you boring. You make you boring. And that's really important. So why should you get certified? And the answer to that is we're going to give you extra training. And that's 6 weeks. It's a 6-week program. That's all it is. And we tell you that you should get certified. Now, there's lots of other people out there, I think, doing certification. I don't know if they're offering the training. I know one of the organizations I belong to said, hey, click into this link and we will give you a certified virtual speaker's badge to show that you're a good virtual speaker. And I went, how do you know I'm a good virtual speaker? But they were, as long as you belong to that organization, everybody got one of those virtual badges. And so it was fascinating to me. So that's what made me kind of go, we need another thing. So I've been training people, you know, for 25 years. So I jumped in and said, I'm going to offer some virtual training. But the reason, you don't have to buy mine. The reason you should get virtually trained is because 2 or 3 of these certifications are going to be known by the meeting planners, by the event planners, as the go-to people who are going to know how to present to their people. They're not going to be boring. They're going to be trained properly. They're going to know how to connect with the audience. And that's what's important, isn't it? When you ask yourself, what's important in virtual speaking right now? It's how to connect with you guys, isn't it? Here, go ahead and nod your heads if you think I'm right. If you say, nope, Steve, you're way off base, you can shake your head. Yeah, this is shaking and this is nodding, right? One is no and one is yes. And so it's really important that when we talk about this, we understand that how we connect with our audience, how we keep them involved, whether you use vignettes, whether you use stories, whether you use material. The one, as a matter of fact, I've got several things down here on why we should stop boring speakers. If you know, first of all, I tell people all the time, if you know a boring speaker, you should give me their email. I will drop them an anonymous line and I will send them an email that says, hey, I heard you were speaking recently. And then I won't tell you the rest of what I tell them. But we want them to learn how to not be boring. And it's really, I tell you, it's a simple process, but it's a learning and an unlearning experience. Because being boring, there's several things that, let me ask you a question. I got Alicia here and Martin. If you guys are unmuted, go ahead. And what makes somebody boring? Just jump in right here.
Monotone.
Monotone. Yep, I have that down. Anything for us, Martin?
I would say there's somebody that goes on and on and on, blah, 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 you know?
That was my number one, people who talk. They just talk, right? And they forget to ask you, they're so involved in telling you about themselves, their story, their business, they forget to ask about you. right? So when we say ask about you, I don't necessarily need feedback. If I'm on an audience in front of 500 people, I don't ask the people, hey, tell me about you. That's not what I do. But I do ask questions that let them know that I have an interest in finding out more about them. So my top things were what makes someone a boring speaker. We're talking, just talking on and on, talking about themselves and their business. The third one was a monotone, right? Boring delivery. Now, whether you call it monotone, just boring delivery, but you know, if I was on here just reading material and talking to you about this kind of thing, but you got to have a conversation. So just because you've been a speaker doesn't mean you're good at a conversation on a virtual platform. So the fourth thing is no energy. If you don't have energy, you're boring, and that's tough. And then, of course, thinking content is king. I've logged into several things here recently where they said, hey, this is how to be a great virtual speaker. Make sure that your content is king. No, 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 no. Content is nice and it's important to have, and we'll share some great content with you here. But the really important part of that is, do you have the right personality? Do you have the right delivery? Do you have the right intonation? Do you have the right questioning and listening techniques? Do you have the right involvement techniques? I can teach you all kinds of things, but if I'm boring, you won't learn anything from me. I'll have to keep saying, okay, here's something really important. You should write this down, because that means I knew you weren't listening before that. And so it's important that you understand that content is not king. Content is important. Content is necessary. But what's important is how you are the presenter in all of this. So if I wanted to give you homework, so let me give you guys some homework on this. If we were talking about becoming a better presenter or speaker, and I ask you to go back and look at your last 4 presentations, whether they're online or offline, right? I want you to count the number of times you said I, me, or my, right? I, me, or my. Of course, that's the I, me, my syndrome. I've worked with lots of speakers. I've helped tons of speakers get super better and lots better on their presentation simply by removing the I, me, my's and talking about the people themselves. I call that storytizing. You'll hear a lot of people selling and marketing storytelling, and almost every one of them I disagree with. Now, not all of them, but almost. And the reason for that is because they tell you how to give an intonation. They tell you how to give this, how to do that, how to move your head, how to move your hands. See, I'm telling you a story right now. And that could be really boring, especially if you got a sing-song voice that goes on and on. No, storytelling is what you do with your children when they're young. You tell them a story, you read them a bedtime story, and that's what storytelling does, puts people to sleep. You need to be a storytizer. And what that means is you take your story, you put it in this blender, and when you pull it out, it's using your story, but their memories and their emotions. Critical difference in how you deliver your presentation. So when we're talking about how do you give a great presentation and why become certified, we train you in all these things, and hopefully everybody you would take a certification from would train you in all of this stuff. But the certification tells the meeting planners and the event planners that you've gone the extra level to improve yourself. And that's why we say, boy, that certification makes a difference. Now, if you're something else on your talk, if you went back to those 3 or 4 talks, are your stories about you or are your stories about other people? Now, sometimes you and I know great storytellers. If you go to a party, there's a guy standing there or a lady standing there talking about her near accident or her real accident that just happened and how exciting it was. And they're emotionally charged. Well, you don't always get to do that in front of a group. You don't get to use those emotions to pump us up. So you have to use stories about your audience. Have you guys ever? Have you ever? Would you like to? Can you imagine yourself? Have you ever felt this way? Do you understand what I'm talking about? It's all about your audience. Real simple. And also, if you're looking at those 3 or 4 things, could you be more energized, excited, or fun? I don't mean jumping up and down, woohoo, hey, let's go do this. No, I mean energized, right? Energized. So you got to keep your voice at a level. You got to be involved. Just like when you guys are sitting here, and this is cool because if you sat in on some of the groups, there are people who just sit back there and they're like, yeah, I'm listening. Really? This is listening? Yep, I'm having a great day. This is listening. And then they slide the slide over, or they click the thing that says I'm gone. Now, I'll tell you I'm gone sometimes when I go to those, because I jump out, run up, grab a cup of coffee, come back and sit down. That's the advantage of being virtual. But if you want people to think that you're involved, if you want to get noticed, if you want to become one of those people, you have to have your face up here to the camera. You have to be dressed properly, right? One of the things I hear people say is, you got pants on today? And I don't know about you, but clothing does make a difference. You ever answer that sitting at home casual Sunday afternoon? Well, now COVID, every day is Sunday afternoon. But you're sitting at home Sunday afternoon, the doorbell rings, and you're in your gym shorts and your t-shirt. You feel like, man, I'm just going to get up and run and answer the door, because you don't know who it is, right? What if it's your pastor? He says, why weren't you at service today? You go and answer the door, and you're feeling kind of, I'm not dressed to answer the door. That's how we have to look at how we present ourselves virtually. And there are so many people who don't understand that how you present yourself virtually changes the world. Okay? And that's important for you to understand, is that we have to show ourselves in a certain way, a certain light. And if you're a virtual presenter, you have to make sure that you involve other people. So I can sit here all day and talk, but if I use the name Martin, Martin pays suddenly more attention. If I say, hey, and is it Alicia? Is it Alicia or Alicia?
Elisa.
Elisa, see? Now, Martin, just like that, you were paying attention to her and I was paying attention to her. It doesn't take much to get other people involved in your, right, in your talk. It's really vital. And so learning these techniques and learning what you can do are absolutely vital to your success. So not only will you get better by learning how to be a certified presenter, but other people will know that you've gotten better because you say, hey, just like here, if you look on there, right? If you look here, it says certified virtual presenter. If you have that on your virtual background all the time, people know that you're that good, right? Just like here, I don't know what you do for a living, right? I'm getting used to the virtual background. How about you? Martin says he's got a virtual background too. But see, here's the thing that says scan me. If you scan that, it takes you someplace. So if you've got a website, if you've got something that you want people to go take a peek at, put it on your virtual background. When it comes time to be a virtual presenter, you know, you have to say, hey, what do I want people to see? So obviously, my logo here, right, the speaker tones, you got those wonderful little S's for speaking, right? Those are my like logo things. So people go, hey, that's cute, right? Does it make me any money? Nope, that was just fun stuff to do. But the scan me and the certified virtual presenter, when I'm doing virtual presentations, especially if I'm hired to do one and I've got one of those certifications there, people are going to know that I went the extra step to be better for them. Vital for your success that people looking at you value you for who you are and what you've done, your accomplishments. So it's really important that we do that kind of stuff. Also, on the last 4 presentations, 3 or 4 presentations, I'm going to ask you to really look at them and evaluate them and you say, are you very proud of those and are they representative of what you do? So just be understanding that not every presentation we make is up to our own standards, much less somebody else's standards. So it's crucial that we always go back and look. When I teach people how to be better presenters, one of the things I make sure we do is you have to evaluate your talks. Vital. When I taught college for 7 years on public speaking, and what I learned was during that semester, if the people went back and evaluated themselves, yep, I can tear your talk apart, right? I can absolutely help you pull it apart, put it back together so that it makes you look, sound, and be a lot better than it was before. Now, I'm not bragging about that. I'm just saying that people can do that for me also. You understand that, right? If they looked at this presentation and I said, pull it apart, tell me what I could have done better. They'd go, you shouldn't drink your cup of coffee during the Zoom webinar. You shouldn't do this. Hey, Steve, how about if you tried that? Steve, you probably should have said it this way. You know, those are all true statements. We can all get better, and it's vital that you start with yourself. Look at the last presentations you did. Look at them honestly. Now, don't be critical. Don't hurt your feelings, right? Don't pull apart. Oh, man, I really suck. That's what. No, right? I want you to start understanding that you can be critical. Pull it apart. Look at it. Say, man, instead of saying I 54 times during that presentation, you might have said you, right? They, them. because it's important that we talk about our audience. It's important that they understand that we're part of what we want them to become or do or happen. So also, when you're doing a presentation, a virtual presentation, you have to answer certain questions, don't you? Let's see if I've got those written down here somewhere. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. But those questions are something like, how are we going to affect our audience? What do we want them to do when we're done? What do we expect of them while we're talking? Right? How will we connect with them while we are talking? So if I'm out here giving a talk, if I were right now giving you a quote unquote sales presentation, which most of the stuff online now for most of us entrepreneurs is a sales presentation. You understand, if somebody says, I'm going to do a 20-minute section of this webinar. Matter of fact, I just looked into something that says Thursday and Friday, they're doing a 8-hour webinar on Thursday and an 8-hour webinar on Friday. And I went, who would sit there for 8 hours on a webinar, right? And some people might, but then they'll be like, because some presenters are better than others, but you'll pick and choose. Like somebody's supposed to speak on Thursday that I wanted to watch, and somebody's supposed to speak on Friday. Now, they didn't give us the times, so I'll have to investigate it more to see if I'm even going to appear, because I may not want, I'm certainly not going to want to sit there for 8 hours. But how do I connect with them? How do I get them to connect with me? So example, if you wanted to learn more about, matter of fact, I got it right here. If you wanted to learn, oh, here's the question. What is your speaking superpower? You know, we all have one. You know, you have one, right? Right? Everybody shakes their head. Yep, we all have one. Most people don't know what it is. So if you want to tear yours apart and find out for sure if you know what your speaking superpower is, I want you to do this. I want you to type in 66866. I want you to type in the word more. So it's on your cell phone. You're going to send me a text message. I'm going to send you an email that's going to help you discover or rediscover or re-emphasize your speaking superpower. And that's vital to your success when you're going to create more success on the road. So it's 66866. Just type the word more. Now, if you don't have one of these wonderful little text by mail or whatever, voice by text or text by voice, I don't know what it's called. See, I just have it. And what I want you to understand is you should get one, because as we're doing these webinars, as we're doing these talks, you have the opportunity to generate additional people into your email system and do them a big favor also. Always give something away that has real value. And when I talk about discovering your superpower, it's vital that you know what your superpower is, what will make people keep listening to you, what will make them want to listen to you, and actually look for you to speak the next time. So they might write to you and say, hey, Steve, when are you speaking the next time? What are you going to be speaking on? I get that every once in a while. That is so cool, right? Would you like to get that? If you'd like to get that, then find some tools and find some ways to connect with your audience. Find a way to reach out to them. And part of that is going to be how you tell your stories. And I say stories, you say, Steve, I do marketing. I do, you know, I know what Elisa does, and she does text marketing. And so when we talk about that, what kind of stories could she tell? She says, I sell text marketing. No, that's not it. Who does she help with her text marketing? How can she help those people? What are some of the accolades she's got now? She don't want to just say, hey, I got a story the other day that was a great accolade. No, you have to put it into a method that's going to help people go, oh, I want to learn more from her, right? So when we talk about that, that's when I get into my signature talk, which is called Storytizing versus Storytelling. We briefly touched on that. Storytelling is all about, right? Storytelling is all about a certain way to impact your audience. And usually I say that's reserved for bedtime stories. We know that. Storytizing is taking that information, putting it into your speaker blender. And when you pull it out, it's a story that you've experienced, but it's using other people's emotions and memories. Vital. So I can use this, I always use the simplified little thing, really simplified. And that is, I say, okay, during COVID, I don't go out very often. So yesterday I decided to go get some groceries, and I went out and crawled in my car, I got an electric car, so I have to unplug it and walk around to the side, and then I get in the driver's side, back out of the driveway, and forget to put on the EV, you know, so then I got to push the button. And you guys are already gone, aren't you? I've already lost you. It's a boring story, right? But what if I told you a story using you? So, hey, you guys been to the store lately in this COVID thing? You go out very often? You guys go out very often? You know, you go out, you love going out? Because I don't love going out. People want me to wear a mask. I don't like that at all, so I don't go out very often. How about you? Right? Well, the other day I had to go to the store. You guys had to go to the store since we started doing this? Is that a fun thing? So you end up going to the store, and what's the first thing you do? You jump in your car. Anybody here got an electric? Right? Notice the differences that I'm trying to engage your thoughts. Do you have an electric? You go, no. And maybe both of you thought, well, no, but I'd like to have an electric car. So you see, we generate the emotions, we generate the thoughts that we want to. And then we could go into this whole thing about how we went to the store and how you go to the store and what you experience when you go to the store. But it's still my story, you get it? I went to the store. But now I'm telling it about them. I'm telling it about my audience. Have you guys ever gone to the store? Have you guys ever done this? Do you guys ever have to do that? You see, we've developed a habit of talking about us. I talk about me, you talk about you. And it's a thing we really have to work on, which is talking about someone else, listening to someone else, understanding someone else, trying to figure out how we communicate better with someone else. That's what storytizing is. Storytizing is all about how you now can relate better to your audience. It's a habit. It doesn't happen in, quite frankly, a 6-week course typically. So that's also why we offer evaluations for your talks. If you're going to be doing a talk, Martin, if you're going to get out there and do a talk, whether it's virtual or whether it's in person, and you want to send me that talk first, I will be happy to pull apart your talk and help you improve it before you have to give it. That's one of the things that we do because it's important that we know how to make this talk better. If I get out there all the time and say, hey, you know what? I was online yesterday and I did this and I did that and I've got a new book and I've got, people don't want to listen. But how about anybody out there ever thought about writing a new book? Right? Martin, do you have a book out? Shake your head, nod your head.
Yes, in the process.
In the process. Yeah. Can
Yeah.
you imagine what it's going to feel like when you finally get that book? You know, you're going to have some delivered to your house. Think of how that's going to feel, right?
Yep.
You're excited just thinking about it, aren't you?
Yep.
You know, and that's how we get people involved in the fact that, hey, I got a new book out. It's this, right? I can help you do this. It's that. And that's vital to your success, is finding out how other people feel. So if I was talking to an audience of 500 people, or let's say a workshop seminar, what summits they call them now. If I was talking to a summit here of 124 people, and I was brought in to talk about how you might be able to write a book better. The first thing I would ask is, who here is ready to write a book? Well, some people say, I'm already got one in process, right? Some people say, I'm ready to write one now. Some people say, I already wrote mine, it's already out. Imagine how it felt. You remember how it felt the first time you got your first case of books. You know, it was like, tear it open, let's look at them, because you'd seen them online. That's just it. You've seen them online, you went, oh, that's going to be cool. And then you get them and you have to pull them out. And then in today's world, especially, I was writing books long before Facebook and internet and everything else took over. Now you can put them up and you put them on here and you go, look what I wrote. I got a new book out. Isn't that what people do when they have their new book? They put it on Facebook and go, I have my new book. You should buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you ask the question, why?
Mm-hmm.
Why should I buy your book? That's where we get back to storytizing. If they brought us out with, hey, how many people here have ever written a new book? Or how many people here would like to write a book? How many people here would like it if everybody bought their book when it first came out? Boy, wouldn't that be impressive if suddenly you just sold 100 new books? Boy, that'd be so cool. And you know what? That's what we need to do as authors, is help each other by buying each other's books. And if we would do that, think how many books everyone would sell. And do people do that? No, they don't, because it's all about I, me, my. So if you said, hey, I would happily support you. And by the way, I have a new book out. Can you imagine my excitement? Would you be this excited if you got a new book out? We might pay more attention to their book. And have you ever struggled, like if my book, like I got a relationship book out, 10 years old now. It's called the 20 things you need to learn in order to find the love of your life, right? So if you're already married, you're already not interested. But what if your marriage is on the rocks? You might be interested in the next one. You say, man, I need to pick better. You see, I just took the person who was already married, who's not interested in my book, and I piqued their interest by saying, yeah, but if I'm in trouble, maybe this will help you pick the next person. Anyway, trying to show you how storytizing can work and how we need to reach into each other's mind. So if I'm telling a story, if I want you to buy my book, I will get on and I'll say, hey, by the way, anybody here having relationship problems, anybody struggling with finding a new person in their life, this book I've got, I guarantee will help you find the right person to put into your life and spend the rest of your life with. Boy, wouldn't that be cool? And everybody's like, yeah. Now, if I'm at my target audience, if I'm just at a summit for 134 people and I'm talking about my book, there might only be 10 people who be interested in buying the book. So you have to make sure you look into who you're involving, right? I want to involve more people. I want to involve the whole audience. Martin's got this wonderful audience behind him, and notice how everybody's laughing, right? That's what's really cool, is everybody's laughing because whoever was speaking did a great job of teaching them, okay? Just like I've got a wonderful thing here, and I will share this with you. If you want to drop me an email, steve@stevesapato.com, steve@stevesapato.com, I will send you the 25 things that we teach you to be a great presenter. The 25 things we teach to be a great presenter. And it's just a one sheet. It's nothing special, but you've probably never seen it before. And these are the things that if you want to become a great presenter, whether you're online certified or offline certified, right? Whether you're speaking in person at a live event or whether you're speaking in person at a virtual event, you should have most of these 25 things already in place so that you can learn how to be a great presenter. Didn't say good, didn't say average. It's a great presenter, because I've been speaking for 40 years. As a speaker for 40 years, I can tell you, some of those you experience painfully along the way, right? You ever been someplace where you thought you told a joke and it just fell flat? Right? Well, imagine that you just spend an hour talking to people and you miss the target altogether. You know, you're done and people are like, yeah, thanks, great job. Which reminds me, let's talk about this a second. I have a lot of people who tell me they're already speakers. I said, great, are you a great speaker? They go, I think I'm pretty good. Here's the question. Have you ever been evaluated? So most people think they're good speakers. I think I'm a great speaker because I went on this stage the other day and everybody went, great job, Steve, great job, Steve, great job, Steve. If I'm at work after the meeting, right, and I ran this meeting, everybody goes, great job, Steve, great job. Have you ever watched somebody, have you ever been in a meeting with somebody who was absolutely horrible in front of the group? This is yes, yeah. We all have, that's the thing, yeah. Did you walk up to them after they spoke and say, hey, you suck? Probably not, right? Probably not. Why not? If they suck, shouldn't we be able to tell them they suck? But that's not what we do. So you see, even the people who suck, which could be you, people walk up and pat them on the shoulder and say, hey, nice job, Steve, right? Nice job. Oh, thanks. I must be pretty good. No, they didn't say that, right? So always get yourself evaluated by somebody who's willing to help you. Somebody who wants to help you grow your career, grow your speaking, grow your abilities. And that's what everything is all about, is your ability to get better at speaking in public. And when I say speaking in public, this is all about being a certified virtual presenter. And you'll notice that I still use all kinds of gestures. I still use facial expressions. I still use body movement. It's not enough to sit in your chair and give them information. You have to get good at all the things that make someone improve their ability to connect with the audience. You see, we all tune out. If I wasn't doing the speaking, I would have tuned out 15, 20 times during this last 30 minutes. It's not the tuning out that hurts you. It's the not being able to draw people back in. It's not recognizing that we lost them along the way. Most people's attention span is anywhere between 30 seconds and 1 minute. And then we're, hey, I wonder what's for dinner tonight. Let's see, I think I had spaghetti last night. See, that is normal. We space out, we get lost. So it's my job to bring them back. You know, it's your job too, to bring them back. Did you know that?
Mhm.
Yeah, see, it's important that we bring you back. And that right there, what you guys gave me, is called a positive modifier, right? And we look for those. That's why we talk about vignettes. When I teach people how to speak in vignettes, it's a 1 to 3 minute talk, right? 1 to 3 minute talk where you are telling a story about something that you want them to understand better. And then you might tell them about it later. And that positive modifier says that you have to get one of those every 30 seconds is what they tell you. One of those every 30 seconds. I don't know if you can do every 30 seconds, we certainly do a minute. And that's real simple. Hey, you understand what I'm saying? Everybody nod your head if you understand what I'm saying. And I just brought people back, people who were zzz, and they're like, I'm nodding, I'm not sure what I'm nodding for. But now they're back with me, right? At least they're with me here. And so it's important that we do certain things. And so all I want you to understand is that when we're doing this, that it's vital that you have all these things in place to become a virtual presenter. And the certified virtual presenter simply means you've gone the extra step, right? When you've gone that extra step, it's vital that you create that and show it. So when I talk about having this certified virtual presenter, if you haven't belonged to a meeting planners organization or an event planners organization, you should belong, right? So look one up in your area. And if you want to do some speaking, what's your topic? First of all, let's talk about what your topic is. Everybody know their topic? Because here's what I normally would teach somebody. If they're new speakers, if they're just coming in, they have to have 3 signature talks. The first signature talk is the one I usually work with them on. The other 2 will come along as we progress. So in my 6-month program, we work on all of the signature talks and get at least one of them down to almost perfection. Okay. Now, why do we do that? Because it's important that you have something to present to people. So if I was going to the school board, right? Talking with somebody just yesterday, and he was talking about how successful he is in virtual school boards this time. And we were going to the school board. What do I tell the school board we're going to talk about? Everything? Because that's when you ask most speakers, what do you talk on? Everything. I can talk on anything. You just tell me what. No, that's not what they want to hear. They're looking for specific topics that they can bring you in to share with your people. Now, and I say specific, leadership is not one of them. A part of leadership. So I speak on leadership, but my specific niche is how to grow your leadership capabilities within the next 3 months to be able to control small groups. Right now, that would be important to teachers, right? Especially if they're talking about students, or principals if they're talking about teachers. Those types of things. So you have to be specific when you're talking about these things. And that's important that you understand is whatever your topic is, if my topic is on leadership, there's 10,000 plus more speakers out there talking about leadership. Okay, so when we're talking about becoming a certified virtual presenter, one of the first things we have to get you doing is making sure that you know what your niche is. That niche is going to be important for you to find speaking gigs. And I don't mean $50 speaking gigs. I'm talking about $2,000, $2,500, $5,000 speaking gigs, even while we're down in COVID, because people still need to be trained. Matter of fact, one of the big things that you work with is how bad most management is in most organizations. Or have you ever been to meetings at a company that they say they're going to be 45 minutes long, and an hour and a half later, you're still sitting in there? What a horrible thing to do to somebody, right? Right? And Elisa goes, yeah, I've been there, done that. And that's a horrible thing to do to somebody. If my wife is involved in management, and I tell her all the time, when you're supposed to start your meeting, because she'll be, I was sitting next to her for a while, and now she's moved in another part of the house. But she had meetings, and she said, I said, I thought your meeting was supposed to start at 3 o'clock, let's say. She went, yeah, but only like 3 of the people have showed up. I went, whose problem is that? And she goes, well, you want me to start without them? I said, of course, right? Start your meeting when you say you're going to start it, and end it when you say you're going to end it. And you know what? The people who count will always show up on time, and they will always be happy that you ended it on time. Does that make sense? So if I'm teaching how to run a proper meeting, I go to these companies and organizations, and especially online, and we talk about it, and I say, this is how you run a proper meeting. If you want your people to learn how to run a proper meeting, hire me. It's an hour's worth of time. I will teach your people, and all it costs you is $5,000. And trust me, they'll be happy to spend it because they need the morale in their organizations to improve. And the way that improves is by meetings being started on time and ended on time. And so those are things, niches. What's your niche when we talk about virtual presentations? So when we talk about what makes a great speaker, the one thing is you have to have a topic. So what is your topic, right? How have you made that topic worthwhile? And of course, if we're talking about 2 other signature talks, they should be on different areas. So granted, they might still be leadership. I know some HR people who will do all 3 topics in HR, but there's so many areas in HR that they can really broaden out. So you have to look at what you're teaching. If I'm teaching on happiness, wow, how many ways can you teach happiness? Well, I'm sure there's lots of ways to teach happiness, but hey, this is how you teach happiness. Now, can I teach another happiness course a different way? No, it's still how to teach happiness. So instead of a happiness course, my next course might be on how to do great parenting, right? What you have to do to be a great parent, or what do you have to do to have a great relationship, or what do you have to do to run a good virtual meeting? Become a certified virtual presenter, get the accolades from learning, get the accolades from the groups that are looking for top quality presenters, get the accolades from people who will hire people who've gone the extra step to become a certified virtual presenter. And when you submit for their gigs, when you put on, you go to the online thing and submit, you put in, as a certified virtual presenter, I think I can offer blah, blah, blah. And they're like, certified? Well, that's pretty cool, right? Now, they might ask you who you're certified by. Hey, tell you what, if you're certified by me, you can say Steve Sapato Seminars. There's a ton of people in the country who know Steve Sapato Seminars. I've been doing this for 40 years. So they're familiar with what I do, they're familiar with the quality I do and how we go about doing things, right? So now you moved up a step in who you're working with. So it's important, just like when I ask people all the time, National Speakers Association, I'm not part of that. People say, well, why aren't you part of the National Speakers Association, Steve? I say, well, way back when, and there's lots of reasons, just so you know, but way back when, I needed to learn, so I joined National Speakers Association. And every month I could go and they would have somebody up there talking about some way to be more successful in speaking, right? But they didn't deal with me personally. They didn't deal with me directly. They didn't say, Steve, let us show you how to get more speaking jobs. Steve, let us take you on this journey. Hey, Steve, I spoke here last month. You might put in a submission to speak there next month. They didn't do that. And I thought that's what they were there for. And when they didn't offer me that, I said, well, gee, I'm not sure that that gave me the value that I was looking for. Now, there's tons of people still in NSA, don't get me wrong, but they didn't offer me what I was looking for at that moment in time. And that's the one thing, again, talk about certification is we also give you 30 places to submit your credentials for every month for 3 months. So 90 opportunities to submit your credentials to places that are actually looking for speakers and pay speakers. I've paid for courses before where they said, hey, we'll give you opportunities to speak after this event is over. And when the event was over, I said, hey, where's my opportunity to speak? And they gave me a sheet, right? And one of them was 108 places that you can speak. I went, oh, cool. And I look at it, and you know what? It was Knights of Columbus Hall, you can speak for free. Girl Scouts of America, you can speak for free. I went, wait, I spent thousands of dollars for this course. And you said you were going to give me places. And they were all the free ones. And so what I tell people all the time is when you work with Steve Sapato Seminars, we give you 30 opportunities every month to put in and submit for paid speaking gigs, right? From places that have speakers and have had them for years. So we offer lots of different things in case you're interested in working with us. And I certainly encourage you to work with us. But that's not why this workshop is here. The workshop is here because I want to help people learn that the more knowledge you have, the more credibility you show, the more credentials you can put in front of people. That's what counts in today's society. I wish it was different, right? My dad was a welder at John Deere. You guys ever have somebody who worked someplace for years and then got passed over all the time because people would come in with certificates? And my dad would get passed over. He was, he's 90 something now, but he passed away a few years ago. But he was a welder for 30 years. And then these young guys would come in with a certification as a welder and be passed over for the next opportunity because my dad didn't have a certification. Well, why not? Well, because he's got 30 years of experience. And so there's lots of times when that frustrates me too. But that's why people do look at certifications as an additional responsibility that you undertook to make yourself better. And that does count in the way this all will be coming together, especially in the next 6 to 12 months, 24 months, as we look at virtual presentations are not going away. Virtual presentations are here to stay. A lot of companies figured out, hey, I don't have to send people to go to this hotel and spend lots of money to send them to this, right? And I don't have to put all my people up at hotels and spend all the money for this. Instead, I can put them on a virtual summit and teach them what I need to teach them. And that's where you and I are going to become important. What's your niche? What are you going to be teaching people, right? After you figure out what you're going to be teaching them, then you got to start crafting your speech. So when you craft your signature talk, that's going to be all about what you have to say, how you're going to maintain interest, how you're going to keep their attention, what stories are you going to tell, how are you going to craft those stories, right? What emphasis are you going to use? What faces are you going to use? What gestures are you going to use, right? How are you going to use your hands in this place? You know, and most people think a speaker is just a speaker, but I guarantee you, if you're going to be paid $10,000 to walk onto a stage for 50 minutes to talk, okay, to talk about something they ask you to talk about, you're not just walking out there unprepared. You spent a month to a month and a half preparing that talk. So you're not getting paid $10,000 for 1 hour. You're getting paid $10,000 for a whole bunch of hours. And that usually works out, no, still great money, but it usually works out to about $100, $150 an hour that you spent creating this signature talk, right, for that organization. And that's important you understand that it's all about preparation. And when you become a certified presenter, we help you learn all the things you're going to need to do all of these presentations. The one thing is, again, I'll push out, we got a 6-week course that we'd love to have you involved with. Just drop me an email, steve@stevesapato.com, and I'll tell you more about the course. Or you can click on the Scan Me. The Scan Me will take you to the page to tell you more about what we're going to be offering and the course that we're going to be offering and how much it's going to cost. But it's 6 weeks, and we'll teach you different stuff. We'll teach you how to put this wonderful Scan Me up there. We'll teach you, you know, how to do your background if you're not already familiar with the background. All kinds of nice little tricks that will help you get a lot better at being a great presenter online. And that's going to be vital for your success. So go ahead, and I'm going to open it up now to any questions. If you guys have questions for me, we can take 2 minutes, or we can take 15 minutes to answer questions if you have any questions for me.
It sounds like not only is this good to learn for a group presentation, but as you said, in my business, I'm in sales, text marketing, I do one-to-one presentations. I think it's good for that too, because a lot of the same techniques that you just talked about can be used with just 1 or 2 people. Doesn't have to be a room full. So I think it's great for a speaker certification, but I think this is also something that would be good for sales reps that are giving presentations, whether it's on Zoom or in person, to a much smaller crowd. I think the technique still fits. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely. That's exactly right, Lisa. That's really important to understand. Is we talk about it being for bigger because we're out there wanting to get these presentations for larger groups. But yep, every sales technique, every sales opportunity requires you to know how to connect with that person across from you. How many times I remember I went in to buy a car years ago, and this young kid met me at the parking lot, and he said, "Hey," and I was with my wife at the time, and he said, "What are you looking for?" We said, "Hey, we're looking for this kind of car." He goes, "Oh, come on in." And he took us into the showroom, and he tries to sit me and put me into a car that I was like, I'm not really crazy, you know, it's, he went, "Yeah, but look at the engine, look at the horsepower, look at," and I went, you know, he didn't ask me at all. You know, I don't care about horsepower. I cared about fuel economy. I cared about, could I get everybody in the car, right? And he must have spent 20 minutes before I finally went, and I mean, I really literally stopped him and said, "Okay, that's all I needed to know." And my wife and I left because he didn't ask about Steve Sapato. He didn't ask, what does Steve need? And that's what every salesperson, right, has to ask their people. You know, like when we do, Elisa and I know each other from networking group, RGA networking group. And the thing is, you know, when we get to talking, people say, well, introduce yourself. Well, hi, I'm Steve Sapato. I've been a speaker for 40 years. I get Steve Sapato seminars. I can offer you this. I can offer you that. I can do this for you. I can do that. You know what? That's not what they want to hear. Hi, I'm Steve Sapato. Do you guys ever have a problem giving a presentation? You guys ever have a problem saying the right things to get the sale closed? And so if I did that every time, people would go, oh, Steve can help us with our sales. See, Steve can help us. If I just tell you about Steve, they're like, oh, Steve Sapato, I think, if I remember right, I think he's a speaker. Because my introduction is actually, Steve, I'm Steve Sapato, the most famous, unfamous speaker in America. And that's how I build myself.
I remember that. I remember that.
Thank you, Bart. And thanks for remembering. And that's just it. People hear it once or twice, and I see them a year later, and they go, hey, you're that unfamous guy. I go, yeah. And then I repeat it. Hey, I'm Steve Sapato, the most famous, unfamous speaker in America. So they've heard it for the third or fourth time, and it starts to stick. And trust me, when it sticks, when your name recognition sticks, is when your opportunities increase. And that's vital to your success. So, yep, think of, Daria just gave us a thumbs up. That's excellent, Daria. Thank you very much. But it's important. Just like, I'm going to interrupt my own self here. Martin, I want a picture of your background. Can you send me a picture of that background? Because I think the lady over your left shoulder is my daughter. So if that's from University of Ames, Iowa, that could be my daughter. And
Are you kidding?
I think it is. Yeah, that's cool.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, so, if I can piggyback on what you said,
please.
Being in Toastmasters for 5 years, and like I said, I've attained the highest degree in Toastmasters, being the distinguished Toastmaster. We always work on evaluations. Every speech that I've ever given, I've given probably 300-400 speeches in Toastmasters in 5 years. Every speech that I've ever given, my prerequisite is, don't tell me how good I am. I'm not that great, but I'm a good speaker. But give me an evaluation. Tell me, did I make contact? Did I have eye contact? Did I have vocal variety? Did I, just tell me did I use my hands? Was I static? Did I move? Did I use the stage? These are all things that Toastmasters teach them, that they teach you. So I always want to know an evaluation. Give me an evaluation. That's my signature.
Right? And that's cool, except what you will find most people are not open to that. Now, you join Toastmasters to get better at speaking. Right. And Toastmaster speaking is different from public speaking. I mean, people say, well, depends on what you're after, especially if you're selling from the stage, you got to learn certain techniques to sell from the stage in order to close that business before you leave. Because people who don't pay, we call it pay to play, and you might pay $3,000 to get in front of 3,000 people. And if you don't sell anything, you wasted $3,000. So there's differences, but you got into that to get better. I've had people pay me my fee, and when I give them their second critique, they're like, I don't want to do that. I go, like, I remember one person, and they had, in a 15-minute talk, they had 30 I's. 30, just the word I. Didn't call it the me or the my. So if in a 15-minute talk you use 30 I's, and let's say you ended up with 45 or 50 I, me, my's, that talk is not about us, and it doesn't involve the audience. And every time I would say, you got to take those out, they would send me the new one, and it would say I, me, my. And I go, and I would send them, try putting it this way. And you know what? They finally called me names and told me I was a shyster. And I said, okay, well, I'll be glad to submit it to a couple other speaker, groups that I know and see what they think. And she said, I already asked my friends. They like it just the way it is. Then why did you hire me, right? Yeah. So some people will hate to be critiqued. They're just never going to be there. So the fact that you open yourself to getting better. I do that all the time. Do I like hearing some of the critiques? Absolutely not, right? Nobody does. But we need them to keep getting better.
Let me give you a story, just a light moment here. About a year and a half ago, I also competed in Toastmasters on different speaking competitions. And I thought I was funny. I entered a humorous speech contest, and I thought I won, right? But everybody said, boy, you sucked.
Oh, man.
I thought I won, right? I'm not funny. I'm not a funny speaker. I'm a serious kind of guy. But it's just the fact that my perception of that I gave the speech, and I thought I won. I said, well, I got this one, right?
Well,
my wife.
But my
wife said to me, honey, you sucked.
Oh, man. But that it's really critical. There is humor in speaking, and that's completely different from humorous speaking, right?
Mhm.
And so, I mean, I use a ton of humor in my speaking abilities, but to like get on stage and be a comedian would be like, no, thanks. Lisa, you had something?
Oh, I was just back to the evaluation thing. One that we like to use, and I don't know if you think it's a good one or not, is I always like to ask, what did we do well, and what could we do better? Because most people are uncomfortable criticizing. And so I find that when you start off with, what did I do well? Then they're like, oh, well, you did da 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 da. And what can I do to improve? Then it's not saying, how did I suck, or what did I do wrong, or what didn't you like? What can I do to improve? And then people like to also help. So I find that by using those two questions, I've gotten a more reliable feedback than just tell me what you think.
Those are excellent questions. As a matter of fact, that's the ones I usually tell my people to use on themselves. So if you had just given me your presentation, I would say, I want you to look at the presentation first, and then I want you to tell me all of the things that you think you did well on, and then I want you to tell me the things that you need to improve.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely vital to our success, and it doesn't hurt our feelings nearly as bad as you suck. But
it's not as harsh.
That's right, not as harsh. Oh, did I cough? Do I have COVID?
I guess
She has COVID. She has COVID. Get her out.
I did get one back that did kind of hurt me, because it's what did you do well? Nothing. What could I do to do better? Everything.
Oh my God.
And then after, I'm reading these and I'm going, oh my gosh. And all the other ones were like, as I expected. Turned out later it was one of my coworkers who thought they were being funny.
Oh.
But it's still kind of like, what did you do well? Nothing.
Yeah. Well, as a corporate trainer, and I've been a corporate trainer for 40 years, traveling around the country teaching at all these institutions, and you're going to get people who don't like you.
Right.
I mean, so, no matter, you've done your best, like you say, in front of a group of 30 people, 28 absolutely wonderful things that tell you, boy, this guy was amazing. And then you get the two that says, he was all full of himself, or, I thought he was really a bad speaker presenter, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow.
Or the color shirt doesn't look good on her.
Oh, yeah.
No,
don't wear that color again.
Yeah, fashion sense. That's, I always want to, but I do that to people that I know as a fashion sense. Like one of my friends was on Instagram, and she's always putting out these outfits. And I looked at the other day and I went, that outfit would be better with white sandals. And she was like, yeah, but the white sandal people don't pay me to wear their shoes. Sorry, there you go. No wonder, right? That's pretty cool. But yeah, and again, people who want to be funny and criticize you don't understand how much they could crush our spirits. And so that's really important. If you're out there and you're thinking of giving someone a critique, make sure you give them a nice critique, even if you hated them, that helps them get better, not that chases them away from the profession. We all started as a terrible person, terrible speaker, somebody who just couldn't get it together. And we grew into good speakers, good presenters, great speakers, great presenters. Most of us will never attain the status of the Tony Robbins of the world or the Zig Ziglars of the world. But that doesn't mean we don't have a whole lot of value to offer to people. So when we talk about virtual presenting, getting to the heart and soul of the people who are sitting out there is going to be vital. If I'm talking on how to be a better speaker, or how to get more speaking gigs, or if I talk about how to be a storytizer and the intricacies of how you tell a story, I want to involve the people in my audience. And that's vital, that they understand that I really want them to succeed, whether it's in sales, whether it's in presentation skills, whether it's in speaking. And that's what we all as speakers need to do. So the certified virtual presenter badge is there to show your boss. It's there to show the people that you've cared enough to go out and get extra training so that you could be better for them. Does that make sense? And with that, I think we're right at our hour. I think I've got 9:57. So if you have no more questions, I'll have to wrap this up because I promised it would be 1 hour. And hi, Daria. It'll be 1 hour, and then we have to boot myself off because as much as I like to talk, not everybody likes to hear me that much.
Let me, if I can say one thing, Steve. one of the things that I do a lot is that I tape every one of my speeches. I videotape myself, and I also evaluate my own self. So, you know, I mean, because I'm critical of me. I don't. One of the things that I see a lot is So I'm fighting that a lot, and so
Okay,
by
so
taping myself.
when you say fighting that, how are you doing that?
Well, I just re-emphasize in my mind, in my mind's eye, that I cannot say it. Because
Okay, now
you say it for a long time, you
but
know.
let me introduce this in the last minute that we have here. Our brains do not understand no. They don't understand can't. If you say I'm going on a diet and you're too thin to need to go on a diet, but if I said, Martin, you can't have apple pie anymore for the next month, and you said, okay, I can't have apple pie. You know what you'd crave for the next month? Apple pie, because you keep saying, I can't have apple pie. I can't have it. And all your mind hears is apple pie, apple pie. So instead of saying, stop saying, you know, saying in place of, you know, what could I say? And don't be afraid of a pause. Don't be afraid of a pause. Like I just said the word like, if you go on to some of these bachelorette shows, you hear people talking like, you know, I really wanted to like, and then I said this, and then I you know, they use like instead of a pause. It should be, I didn't really want to say that, but you know, that as opposed to like. And that's the same thing you can do, is a pause. Instead of, so when you hear yourself, you go, oh, instead of don't do that, it's I could have used a pause there, or I could have used this word there.
Yeah.
And so replace it with whatever you want to replace it with. And that's probably going to be your kickoff.
Good.
Right.
Good idea, buddy. Good idea.
I hope. All right. Don't forget to send me that picture behind you. I really want to send it to my daughter.
Got you,
but
buddy.
if you have any questions, you holler back at me. And this has been Steve Sapato. You can reach me at steve@stevesapato.com. And of course, stevesapatoseminars.com. Hope you all have a blessed day and a wonderful 2021. God
Good.
bless.
It was great. You take care too, my friend.
Thanks a lot.